have both Jill Stein and Cindy Sheehan, you remember her, who camped outside George W.'s ranch to protest the war in Iraq, now both saying that Donald Trump is less dangerous to world peace than Hillary Clinton. Meanwhile, in Syria, we're hurtling towards war. Barack Obama says he'll make decisions at the end of next week on his military options. In a situation in which nobody involved is our friend. It's really extraordinary. But the last 24 hours have been turned upside down because first John Podesta and then last night Robbie Mook of the Clinton campaign both asserted that I knew about the WikiLeaks hacking of John Podesta before the fact. Just to be very clear for everybody, that is categorically false. And it's adding 2 and 2 and coming up with 6. The reason they say this is because in August, in 2 different tweets, I predicted that Podesta's business dealings would become problematic. I was a little more oblique. I said, Podesta's time in the barrel will come. That wasn't based on anything I learned from Julian Assange or WikiLeaks. It was based on my own research. But it's also been, he was involved in $35 million deals with the Ruskies for uranium. I mean, he was the go-between man with the Don Hillary. I mean...
Well, now don't confuse him with his criminal brother, Tony Podesta, who was a consultant to that.
No, I'm not confusing him. I know he's the main one, but he's been involved. He's been involved with Hillary.
Definitely.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, deeply. Bottom line of this, he has been laundering Russian money for the Clinton Foundation. He has been laundering Russian money for the purposes of purchasing U.S. military technology. I have a piece up now at the Stone Cold Truth that documents all of this. That is what I was referring to. This piece has taken me some time because some of the original documents were in both German and Russian. It took some time to translate them. But
and also, you've had your computers hacked repeatedly and everything erased. They're very concerned.
Yeah, no, look, this is deflection. In other words, how do we get people to ignore the substance of the emails? Well, blame the Republicans for hacking. This is part and parcel of the same phony argument that Donald Trump and Alex Jones and Roger Stone and Milo and the rest of these deplorables, we all work for the Russians. When in fact it's Hillary who's in bed with the Russians. It's Hillary.
I was about to say, I wish this check would arrive at some point.
Yeah, exactly. No, so it's the politics of personal destruction, and I would have to say, of the networks, only NBC Nightly News came and filmed my response, which they ran in the Nightly News. From CNN and Fox, crickets.
And again, for folks that don't understand the history of journalism or being in a free country, anytime you get charged with some incredible thing, you get a response back, even if you're an axe murderer. Now there's no proof. They just hang you out to dry on every major TV channel in the country and then don't let you respond. That is fascism.
Yeah, no, to the credit of the print media, I responded to the Washington Post, the New York Times, and many, many others. But the electronic thing is shocking. I've just never seen that. I mean, I understand I'm banned, but last week John King attacked me on CNN. This week I've got Podesta attacking me. Simple fairness, journalistic ethics require offering me an opportunity to respond.
Well, as you know, and I played the clip last hour, Trump said all journalistic integrity is basically gone by the establishment media, and they're basically pushing world government and globalism. Let me ask you this now. Watching how they're behaving, what's going on, they seem to be getting more desperate. I know Trump, according to my own research, is ahead in a lot of the battleground states. It appears they're preparing to sell the idea of election fraud. Correct me if I'm wrong. What do we do to counter that, and then what do we do once they actually steal it?
Well, I think you and I have both been out front on this in a way that drives the establishment politicians crazy because they want us to believe our ballot is sacrosanct and that the system will have integrity. I take the view if these computerized machines can be easily hacked, they will be. But I'm less worried about the Russians hacking them and more worried about the democratic machine under
Rahm Emanuel, in all honesty. They have more experience in election fraud. This is why I got involved with StopTheSteal.org. We are literally shortly, hours away from, I am told, posting our comprehensive exit poll plan, for which we have recruited over 500 volunteers. So we need manpower. We need good men and women who will give us their services on Election Day as volunteers that can go for some training on how to conduct these exit polls. But the only hedge you have is twofold. You could examine the software for the machines before the voting begins, and that should be done. And we're going to try to demand it in certain places. And then secondarily, you have to have a scientifically operated exit poll so you can compare them with the actual machine results. And if the swing is too wide, you will know there's fraud. I don't think you can just lose the election and say, well, I was defrauded without evidence of fraud. But some people say, well, it would be un-American to challenge the results of the election. If you had hard evidence of fraud, it would be un-American not to challenge the office. But you must have real evidence. That's my view.
Stay there, my friend. I want to come back and talk about what you just mentioned, because this is Reuters. Obama's meeting today to decide whether they're going to start attacking Russian targets inside Syria. That's mainstream news. Before the Clintons left their governorship in Arkansas, more than 100 people had been suspiciously murdered. Hundreds more died during their first terms. And the scourge continues to this day. DNC staffer after DNC staffer that speaks out against election fraud or leaks information to WikiLeaks ends up gunned down. And the Clinton crime family and their backers is now in the spotlight. If I die, if they kill me, it was done for a worthy cause. Somebody's got to stand up against these people. Long before George W. Bush had taken office, or Senator Obama was even thinking about being president, I was there, exposing the crimes of the Clintons. So it is fitting that I, Alex Jones, called the Dark Heart by Hillary Clinton, would be your chronicler. A chronicler who risked his very life exposing these evil ones.
It's required by Bill Clinton in 1992, and it was instituted here in Texas in 1993. I know the code, sir. Are you going to...
It's also what happens when you listen to the radio host, Alex Jones.
Just a few days ago, Hillary Clinton, one of the most powerful criminal kingpins in history, came out on national television and said that I had a horrible, dark heart.
I don't know what happens in somebody's mind or how dark their heart must be.
I thought back to the history of the Clintons' reign of criminal terror in the last 20-plus years on this planet. And I have to tell you, it's surreal to realize that Alex Jones, little old me, is one of the main opposition points against these monsters. Once they were in the White House, they expanded the bombing to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of attacks a year on the infrastructure of Iraq. They got the UN to pass the most draconian sanctions ever in modern history, where medicine and food and all forms of technology were basically blocked from coming into the country. Over 1.5 million Iraqis starved to death and died. And Hillary Clinton's mentor, Madeleine Albright, bragged on 60 Minutes and other channels that 500,000 dead Iraqi children were a good price to pay of the sanctions.
We have heard that 500,000 children have died. I mean, that's more children than died in Hiroshima. And you know, is the price worth it?
I think this is a very hard choice, but we think the price is worth it.
But when you are a Machiavellian sociopath or a sadistic psychopath, you don't look at things about alliances and who's right and who's wrong. You look at 1 billion+ Muslims, and you look at Syria, and you look at the invasion points where you can come into all of Europe and take over. But first, you've got to get the weapons to invade. And you see Libya. And Muammar Gaddafi was set up. Jihadists out of Saudi Arabia, via the State Department and Hillary, were brought into Benghazi. They attacked the country. The West had a bombing campaign to back the takeover. Islamists were put in control. Christians, blacks, non-radical Muslims, Shiites, and others were killed by the tens of thousands. And Hillary formed, by design, a failed state.
We came, we saw, he died.
Ooh, Lordy, my trouble so hard. Ooh, Lordy, my trouble so hard. Don't nobody know my trouble but God. Don't nobody know my trouble but God. Ooh, Lordy, my trouble so hard. Ooh, Lordy, my trouble so hard. Don't nobody know my trouble but God. Don't nobody know my trouble but God. Ooh, Lordy, trouble so hard. Ooh, Lordy.
Ladies and gentlemen, these are the headlines I'm sitting here reading during the break, and it's surreal because I talk about it so much, and then the clock keeps ticking towards midnight, and the average American isn't even aware or concerned. Our military is, people that are informed are concerned, but here are the headlines. Reuters, Obama to weigh Syrian military options today on whether to start striking Syria, which Russia will say is an act of war. Russians warned nuclear war is imminent. This is mainstream newspapers I'm reading. Locate your nearest bunker. I mean, that's Reuters. These are real headlines I'm here reading to you. And remember 6 months ago, it was all funny when I was telling you this. This was in the Russian newspapers. And Russia, I guess, doesn't exist or something when I read out of the Moscow Times to the average trendy. But this is serious. And, Roger, there's like an insanity in the air, it seems like. I mean, you've got Podesta with emails about wet work. You've got all this other craziness going on. You've got this obsession with clowns and clown attacks. I mean, have we woken up in an insane asylum?
Well, we're in wag the dog territory. This is war as a pretext for stealing this election. You're right. The American people seem to be completely oblivious that we're likely to go to war in a conflict in which I can't find any inherent interest of ours, nor can I find friends on either side. I mean, Assad is financing Hezbollah. He's backed up by the Russians. On the other side, you have ISIS, backed up by the Saudis. I think they proved on 9/11 that they're not friends of ours. We don't have any friends. This is really it's about different sects of Islam. It's about Wahhabism, really. That we would spend a single dollar here or a single American life. It's astounding.
How would you sum up, Roger Stone, the age and the world we live in right now?
Dangerous. Because the globalists will do anything, including starting a world war, if that's what it takes to retain power.
I know you want to talk about private stuff with Donald Trump, but I mean, he seems to be stronger than ever. How is he handling these attacks? They seem to be, the polls show these attacks are bouncing off.
Well, and these accusers that the New York Times has put forward, claiming that Donald Trump shoved his tongue down their throat 30 years ago. Of course, they didn't report it then. They're just reporting it now, 2 weeks before election. It's already unraveling. One of these women has been tied back to the Clinton Library. Before that, the Clinton Foundation. This is a setup. This is a fraud, and perpetrated, I imagine, by David Brock, who went out and recruited these women. The other headline you'll see is that one of the women, Kathleen Willey, is speaking out against Clinton because Roger Stone paid her mortgage off. No, I didn't. I set up a GoFundMe account and helped raise money to keep her home out of foreclosure.
Our listeners did that. We did it. I love how they act like everything we do is in secret. It's like, he once went on Howard Stern. It was a secret show. No, that's public. Or once Trump kissed a woman, all these great evils. Or the Clintons, had her mortgage pulled, so we helped her out. She was already a critic. She was already on NBC, decades ago exposing this.
Exactly. And look, and I think I did give $100, and many other people, InfoWars listeners included, I think we raised around $40,000 to keep her house out of.
I personally, if I remember correctly, told him to give a couple thousand, my accountant, because I give to charity all the time, and I'm sad for what happened to this woman. I interviewed her like 20 years ago. I mean, I know this woman.
But the media, as you know, they twist these things. And yes, I did pay Kathy Shelton, the woman who was raped at 12 and then assaulted essentially in the courtroom by Hillary Clinton. I paid her $2,500 over to sit down with us over 2 days and let us video.
Yeah, how do you think you get people to take off work that are poor? You've got to give them the money to come see you.
But I certainly haven't paid her to change her story because she's been saying the same thing since she was 12 years old. So it's just, on the other hand, no one talks about how much George Soros pays David Brock to smear us.
You know, you may have to go, but if not, I'd like to put bookends on this. Can ask you a few more questions, and then also make the point. I paid, for the hotel for Danny Williams and bought him lunch. Does that mean I bought him off? No. He's been saying he's Bill Clinton's son since his mama told him that, 25 years ago. Roger Stone's our guest, StoneColdTruth.com. We're going to get a nuclear war after we finish up with Roger Stone. It's never been more imminent. I'm saying this so people get concerned and we cannot have it happen. I got 3 kids.
We're on the One person can make a difference. We have broken through the mainstream media blackout on Bill Clinton's history as a rapist. Now people are yelling at his rallies. Starting today at the Stone Cold Truth, and I believe shortly at InfoWars in the store, you're going to be able to get the official Bill Clinton rape whistle. So if you read that Bill Clinton's coming to your town to campaign for Hillary, get you and your compatriots out there with your official Bill Clinton rape whistles to keep this issue straight, right in front of the American
And let's be clear, Roger is selling these to us at cost. We're going to then sell them at cost, so is he. This is a war. Powerful whistle that says Infowars.com on it, StoneColdTruth.com to spread the word. And then you can take over at events with these. We're in an info war. They send people to disrupt our rallies and beat people up. We're going peacefully with the First Amendment, legal and lawful. And it's not bad to make money. I'm just pointing out, since you mentioned it, we had 1 million of these. There's 400,000 left. We're selling them at cost. 100 stickers is like $17. That's at cost. Hillary for Prison 2016, InfoWars. So you stick these up in legal and lawful areas, folks, and spread the word. Now, Stone, getting back to you. Again, those are at InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLife.com for the nutraceuticals. And I don't care where you get the rape whistles or where you get the rape shirts, StoneColdTruth.com. We're in a war. He sells them to us at cost. It doesn't matter where you get them. Just get them. Now, Roger Stone. We're, by the way, selling Hillary shirts right now at cost, too. It's a total war. We're all in. And again, that's how desperate it is.
We're not in there. We're not in this for our normal capitalist principles. We're in this to break the roadblock being set up by the mainstream media on this issue.
That's right. Things are so desperate that consummate capitalists aren't even trying to make money at this point. Okay, folks? Because we understand we've got to make money to fund ourselves and continue. But right now, we're all in. So, Roger, the 3 points you wanted to hit finally. A, how is Trump doing? He seems to have gotten a lot hardcore after he got set up at the first debate. How is he doing? Am I correct that he seems to be his strongest yet?
Well, he's liberated because perhaps some around him have finally figured out that the establishment Republicans, who at least some of them were temporarily pretending to be his friends, don't wish him well. And he no longer has to defend the elite Republican leadership in Washington, which, as you know, is just as responsible for the lousy conditions of the country, home and abroad, as the Democrats, the Bushes and the Clintons, and their ilk working together brought us to where we are. So I think he feels liberated.
Very, very exciting. The media tries to spin it that he's a loser because he's fighting with the Republicans. These are the horrible establishment that have been selling us out. I wouldn't support him if the horrible rhinos and neocons liked him.
Yeah.
Roger's got to go here in a moment, but Roger, finishing up then with the final point we were going to hit on.
Yeah, I still think that the greatest danger here, as the rotting, teetering, two-party duopoly sways in the wind just before collapsing, is that they will try to steal this election. So I ask people again to go to stopthesteal.org Join. We need your hours. We need your manpower. We need boots on the ground because the Trump campaign does not have the infrastructure necessary to guard these polls. The Republicans are working against us in places like Ohio and parts of Florida, and we can only fill these gaps with rank-and-file patriot citizens who want to step forward and try to fight what I think is a coming effort to steal this election.
And let's be clear, even if we can't stop it, documenting with exit polls, with video cameras, catching fraud, if we get 10 or 15 big stories, which we'll get if they steal, we'll get more, it will devastate them, it will backfire, and then there'll be a huge investigation. Trump will be catapulted in on the recount. If we had Scalia, he's dead. So final question. You told me during the break that this move to go after Carlos Slim and the New York Times was genius. Give us 60 seconds on that.
Yeah, I think there's one missing piece of the Trump messaging. Carlos Slim, the owner of the New York Times, the man who has the largest single phone contract with the United States government,
yes,
is the single biggest contributor to the Clinton Foundation and the Clinton Global Initiative. It connects jobs. This is why the New York Times is putting the women on a gay fund who they were sold by our company at the proof. And this is why this has been so extraordinarily biased in its coverage. Now, I never expected them to be friendly, but they've shredded any pretense of objectivity. And Slim is he is the ultimate globalist. Slim is a Mexican billionaire, paid no taxes to the New York Times last year, just like Donald Trump, using the exact same deduction. But you don't read about that on page one.
It's incredible. All right, Roger, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Great to be here, Alex, as always. Victory or death?
That's right. That's what Colonel Travis said at the Alamo in 1836. We sit here today watching all this over-the-top tyranny, and I've told my reporters this over and over again, not that I need to. I told them, we don't twist information. We don't spin in information. The truth is what's powerful.